I knew my son was different when he was 9 months old. He used to sleep upright, rocking back and forth, so much so that he developed a permanent wound on his spine from the rubbing against the wooden cot. Ryan didn't make the usual cute sounds that babies make. He would stare at me with a blank look on his face, seemingly not understanding anything I said. Living in the Netherlands at the time, we spoke both Dutch and English at home. I was advised by our doctor to choose a language and stick to it. Ryan wasn't making the milestones that his peers were making. My marriage broke down and Ryan and I returned to New Zealand a month after his second birthday to start over. Over the next few months I learnt more about Ryan, that he functioned best with structure and routine. He ate well, loved Thomas the Tank Engine, puzzles, music, books and the Wiggles, and everything had its place. I researched and found play centres and kindergartens in our area and visited them to see if any were suitable for Ryan. There was a lot of play going on but no structure or routine. Then I found a private preschool which offered 20-minute sessions of reading, swimming lessons, computer time, mat time, etc. And I immediately found at ease with this setup. Ryan still looked at people with that blank stare and didn't seem to mix well with his peers, but he was safe and he loved it there. Ryan's quirky behaviour was lovable. His train set would not often be on the tracks but lined up with bumpers butted up against the edge of the mat on the floor. Building blocks would be colour coordinated and he preferred his food to be in even amounts. Carrot sticks, raisins, slices of fruit, etc. He sat in the same place in the car and told me it just doesn't feel right when he sits anywhere else other than behind the passenger seat in the car. He once noticed that the indicator of my car was ticking in time with the flashing colon on the digital clock. This was apparently a good thing, and he loved to roll blue tack in his hands. The blob would grow day by day until it became too large that I had to break it and throw it away. I didn't mind his behaviour. It was normal to me, although others found it odd. He was my boy and I loved him. When we were settled back in New Zealand, I took Ryan to our new general practitioner to question why he was not making the milestones of his peers. I questioned his sight, his hearing, and if he was tongue-tied. Our doctor advised, if he can see a bird in a tree, then there is nothing wrong with his sight. I questioned myself. How do I know what he's seeing is what I'm seeing? His hearing specialist told me that I was doing all the talking for Ryan and not allowing him the time to get his thoughts together to respond. Ryan did not have language until he was 2.5 years old. Ryan began primary school alongside his peers. I thought he would settle in from here on in. However, I was called into the principal's office towards the end of the first week of school. I was told, Ryan's behaviour is unacceptable. He's disruptive in class and he rolls around on the floor when he is supposed to be sitting on the mat. This is typically solo parent syndrome. I asked the principal, what support can the school provide? The principal responded, we don't have funding to support naughty children. Ryan needs disciplining at home. I left his office in tears. I investigated other local schools and found one which was also a teacher training school, therefore had extra teachers. I felt this was a good move. Ryan started there in term 2 and his quirky behaviour continued. He wasn't making friends and he continued to be disruptive and inattentive in class. I continued to get reports from school. Ryan was also struggling. It was heartbreaking to see my son upset. I knew what Ryan needed, but telling schools this was seen as telling them what to do. Ryan needed everything explained to him, broken down and paraphrased to ensure he understood. Ryan and I returned to our general practitioner when he was 5 years old, asking for answers as to why he had not met all the milestones that he should have by age 5, at which time we were referred to a child psychology team. That was 15 years ago. Ryan was finally diagnosed at age 5.5 with mild to moderate autism, Asperger's syndrome and ADHD. The specialist gave me the diagnosis and I asked, well, what do I do now? He said, go home and get on with life. Researching became my life to source support and information to help Ryan. I also needed to understand his condition and understand how I could best help him. I learned that he did not meet criteria for educational funding through the Ministry of Education. With no support from family and no support from school or professionals, I felt alone. I was alone, very alone, with a child with special needs who needed specific assistance. I had to knuckle down and find support for Ryan and myself. Thinking outside the box, I talked to many people. I researched and found work and income child disability allowance, riding for the disabled, Duke of Edinburgh program for childcare, Lions, Rotary and Freemasons for teacher aid wages and music tuition, Specific Learning Disorder Association, Respite Care, Autism New Zealand, ADHD support group, and of course the library. I read many books, some relating to his condition and others for inspiration, including books by Tracy Richardson, Lauren Roach and Mark Ingalls. I met other mums who were not so resourceful, and I was able to share my learned information and provide support to more than 250 families over 2 years. It didn't matter what the disability was, our needs were the same: to have support, information and funding to help our children inside and outside the classroom. I am resourceful. My specialty is researching, thinking outside the box to source funding opportunities and find solutions. Helping others is my passion. Sharing information is my job. Funding connection is my life.